Hello.
Hey there.
So, what did you learn this week?
This week, I learned that Danny Lee is trash. And her opinions are trash. What did you learn?
I learned that there are quite a few things that I want to leave in 2020. And as we walk into 2021. So, welcome back to the show. And
welcome back.
We'll make some connections on the Hallspace Podcast. Welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. Hello.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Welcome to 2021 with
2021
the Hallspace Podcast.
Season 2 of the Hallspace Podcast.
Season 2 in a whole nother year.
Whole nother year.
Yay.
New year.
We missed you.
We did. We missed doing this.
Yeah.
We taped these episodes on Sunday. Nicole would come up to me every Sunday like, so are we taping today?
Are we taping?
It's like, remember we're on hiatus until
I haven't decided when the podcast is coming back. And it's like, okay.
I had kind of decided, but I knew we're going to come back Black History Month. I was kind of figuring we're just going to take the whole month of January off.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we did that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And now we're back.
And welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Once again, I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, here with my lovely and capable co-pilot in life and on this show, Nicole.
Nicole Hall. Hey there, everybody.
Yes. And we're doing the podcast thing still.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how that works out. And I got my timers going, so we're going to be tight about the time.
Right, we are.
Sure.
We got a lot to talk about, and
we got a lot to talk about. She's got some very fiery subjects.
I do.
But one thing I did want to do in the top here, just so that we can one last time. We talked a little bit about 2020 before we left, but there have been some more thoughts, and as we look at 2021, I'm going to come back around to this, but I'd like to, just review some things. From 2020, and let's just have a brief discussion before we put it to bed.
Highlight those things. Yep,
Yes. I'm gonna list some things we didn't know about last year that now are pretty much part of the lexicon.
Right. Okay.
Right. Before last year, so going into 2020, we did not know about the Tiger King.
Right.
Didn't know who Carol Baskin was to save our lives.
Yeah.
Even though it was still a story, it was one of those. I think you knew a little bit about it because you're a fan of
true crime,
yep. And that the husband's disappearance was one of those true crime stories.
It's a big deal
that had been around for a while because he didn't disappear recently. This story's been going on since the 80s.
This story's been going on for a while,
yeah.
And they have not found her husband. But since the Tiger King show or the documentary, they are reinvestigating. So the actual Tiger King is still in jail.
Yeah.
So, and Carol Baskin is still walking around free.
Yeah.
Even though we know she killed her husband and had the tigers eat him. And
allegedly. I do not want to go to court.
That's right. We do.
I do not want to go to
allegedly,
court. Testify about where this information came from.
Right. We have no proof.
Public opinion, allegedly.
Yes, absolutely. Just guessing here. Folks.
Yes. We did not know what Zoom was. If you had said to me, I got a Zoom meeting this afternoon, I'd be like, what the heck? Like, are you going to a theme park with your kids or something? Like,
yeah. What is this again?
What is a Zoom meeting?
It's a video conference call.
Yeah.
And it is how everyone, schools, work,
everyone communicates via Zoom. Teleconference.
Yep.
Nobody even says teleconference meeting.
No,
unless
they say
you're super
Zoom.
professional.
They say Zoom.
We call it Zooms.
Well, and it's
Skype really spiked the ball.
It did.
Because we should be calling it Skypes.
We should be calling it Skype.
Skype already had the technology.
Listen, we are the company that I work for. We're a Skype business. So everything we do is through Skype, but everything the kids do is through Zoom. And another interesting comparison is that we're not saying WebEx.
We're not saying WebEx.
We're not saying
we
WebEx.
refuse to make WebEx a thing.
And we're not talking about GoToMeeting, which is Google.
And nobody's talking about Microsoft Teams.
Nobody. Oh, no.
Nobody.
Let me tell
Google
you
Hangout, we're not talking about that either.
Listen,
but we'll say Zoom, and everybody knows what we're talking about.
We're going to do Microsoft Teams, and we're like, why? We have Skype. This doesn't make sense. It hasn't gone well so far, just so everybody knows.
What, to switch over to Teams?
We can't switch over because we're using Skype.
Yeah.
I mean, they want us to also use Microsoft Teams, and it's like, but why? I'm going to ping you on Skype.
Nice.
I'm going to get my stuff done that way.
It's contracts. That's what I found, because I have 3 different jobs and they all use a different service.
Right.
And it's mostly because they have a contract with this service.
They get those bulk contracts, and it's like, I get 100 of you guys to do it, so this is what we're going to use.
Yeah, the school switched over to... They switched over to Zoom, but we still have to use WebEx because as the counseling center, we have a contract for the confidentiality for an encrypted WebEx. So it's like, it's so dumb though.
I agree.
And honestly, if I had known 3 years ago to just, either heavily invest or create a teleconferencing software, then I would have cleaned up.
Yeah. I will say, as I would do side websites. One of the things that I always used was GoToMeeting because it is encrypted and it is private, and Zoom wasn't really a thing, and neither was Google Meet.
Nope.
Yeah. So,
TikTok became a thing.
Oh my gosh.
Became a huge thing.
It is definitely a huge thing. I don't have the app, but I don't need it. Because TikTok ends up on Instagram and Facebook. It ends
up on all the other mediums.
It does.
All the really popular stuff will end up on the other mediums.
Yep.
I don't trust it because I know that Vine existed. And so unless
we remember Vine. Yeah.
Right. Unless it diversifies, it's not going to outlast a Vine.
No. Well, and
it's basically Vine.
It is basically a Vine.
It's doing nothing that the other streaming services aren't doing.
Well, and our boys love the Vine, and they're very devastated that Vine doesn't exist anymore. They
were devastated by the loss of Vine.
They go to YouTube for the Vine videos.
Yeah.
Because if you take whatever you did on another medium and you put it somewhere else, it lives there as well.
Right.
So yeah. Do you have a TikTok?
No, well, technically I do. I signed up for one just to be because I thought you needed to. Like, I did not download the app on my phone. Okay. But I signed up on it on my tablet, on like my Kindle Fire. Okay. And I thought that you needed to view them. And then when I found out you didn't, I've literally never been logged in. I've logged into it randomly when I'm like, well, I'd like to share this particular TikTok to my Instagram, but then I just forget. Yeah. And so I'll view it and be like, this is a good one to share, and then never.
Well, it's funny because you never post to Instagram. Like,
I post in stories. I never post directly to Instagram.
Correct.
I share stories. And usually that's just aggregating content from other people. More than posting an Instagram.
It's like sharing something else that someone else posted. I'm the same way.
And I take a ton of pictures. It's just a matter of forgetting to then post them.
I have a whole album that I want to create for our dog. Oh. Meet T'Challa, and I just haven't. Yeah. Or, the Hallspace Theater, which is a lot of Victoria videos.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We got to get doing that.
We do.
So some other things that we learned, that there was apparently a war between All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter. Wasn't having that conversation in 2019. Were we?
Yeah. Well,
Black Lives Matter was a thing, but I just don't remember. That war intensified definitely in 2020.
It definitely intensified, and I think because of all of the other murder.
Yeah, murders. I was going to call them events because I was going to just automatically reduce the intensity of them, but it was murder.
It was definitely murder.
It was black murder.
It was murder against black men.
Yeah.
Black people.
What's interesting about that conversation, and we're definitely going to have a much larger and richer Black Lives Matter conversation as we have in the past, and I intend to do one.
Definitely during February. Absolutely.
Definitely during Black History Month, right?
Yep.
This idea that people often. It's like, I support you, black person, individually, but I'll never say Black Lives Matter, which is like, do you hear what you're not saying there?
Right.
How could you support me as a black life?
I am a black life.
Right.
If I matter, then all the people around me and people like me also matter.
But if I say all lives matter, that encompasses you too. And yet,
I think
I'm not treated with the equality
honestly,
of all lives.
I think there are a number of people, and not everybody, I think there are a number of people that are just terrified of excluding anyone.
I don't know if that's terrified. Because here's the thing about white supremacy. a lot of times when people say everyone, they genuinely mean white people. Like if you ask a white person to close their eyes and think of a person, white person pops into their head.
Absolutely.
That happens with most of us because of the media.
Because of who you are. When you ask me to think of a person, then I'm going to think of someone that looks like me.
And most people will think white male.
Honestly, I was going to say, honestly, a lot of black people, especially of our age and older, have trouble sort of visioning ourselves because we didn't for a long time get to see ourselves in TV. We did not grow up seeing ourselves in TV and media,
which is another deeper conversation I plan to have at some point when having about representation in media. I think I've talked about it. I mean, we've covered.
We cover it in spots, but it's definitely an important conversation to have. But All Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter. It's really not. It really isn't a versus.
No.
Because we are people too.
Whenever, I mean, historically, whenever you start talking about the rights of any minoritized population, but definitely black people, then there's an uproar, a tendency to want to quell shit, to completely squash it all together and to delegitimize the movement. That's why I get a little bothered when people are like, well, the Black Lives Matter movement is a terrorist organization that's doing this and this and this. Yeah. Even though,
and I think also the argument is, what about black and black crime? It's like crime is segregated like your neighborhoods already,
like your neighborhoods are exactly.
And it's so black people commit crimes against black people, white people commit crimes.
It's in part segregated because your neighborhoods are so segregated.
Yes, and that's
one of the reasons you work to keep your neighborhood so segregated is because you're afraid of others committing crimes with you. But what happens is you get victimized by people that look like you.
Now see how we took this whole route off. We weren't even talking about crime.
And yet it gets derailed.
It derails you every single time. What we are saying is black people are human and they matter just like white people.
And legitimate rights.
And others.
The ability to exercise those rights and freedoms in this country without harassment.
We are under the Constitution just the same as you.
Oppression, without being murdered. And that's not too much to ask, I don't think.
I agree.
We did not know that we could homeschool going into 2020, and
we ain't got no choice.
Ain't great at homeschooling. Homeschooling absolutely sucks.
I hate it.
Raise your glasses to all the homeschooling parents out there who are also working jobs and just trying to figure it out, hoping your children do not fail.
In the words of the Braxtons, ting, 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 ting.
Because
God bless your mama because she's fantastic at it.
Yes, our mom has helped to take over some of the tutoring duties.
Very good. And our distance learning coach, Miss Tina,
we have a distance learning coach now that comes to the house 3 days a week. Like and that's one of the annoying things is,
and we're still,
in order to keep this country running, we are essentially subsidizing so much of the cost and the burden, and we're relatively financially stable. I could not imagine how other people are doing, and the toll it's going to take on the American populace.
Well, and that's the sad thing because we have the ability to get extra help. We have a great support system. That doesn't cost us
money.
And
a decent, stable income.
We've got a decent, stable income. We haven't lost our jobs per se, you know, and we're able to still thrive in this environment. But for the people who can't, you know, and honestly, you know, the sad thing about it is, even with the schools, they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to test your kids. They're going to hold them back. They're going to try anyway. And they're going to, you know, say, well, your kid's not showing up to class. I mean, like, I don't understand. They're still sending me emails about the log, about the learning log.
Oh, yeah.
Bruh. They've done all of their work.
If the work's getting turned in, what are you asking for?
I'm not. Listen,
there's so many admin tasks. You don't know this when you start homeschooling. Particularly during this time where they just kind of created all this stuff.
Requires a learning log
and
for you to say how many hours they're doing. You know,
because
whatever.
They don't trust that if the work gets done, that they're spending enough time, because time is one of the markers they use to determine whether or not. Well, and
that's how they log attendance. Why do you care?
If they show up in the Zoom and or do their work.
Well, and if they don't and they still get their work done,
then they've attended. They're, you know,
or we figured out what you taught them in that hour and a half a day.
Yeah.
And we figured out how to show it to them so that they could do the work and submit it. Okay.
Right. It's a struggle and it's dumb. And as I've said over and over again, we're just going to eke this out. If we can just scrape the sides and get across the finish line.
I mean, but shout out to our kids though.
They're doing great.
first quarter was rough, but they took all their grades from the bottom to the top.
Started at the bottom.
We got to thank we got to thank Ethel Hall for that. We got to thank Miss Tina for that, and just sort of pulling it out.
You did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying. I have a whole other job, and then I'm still trying to like run the house.
Yeah,
so
it's too much.
It's a lot.
I just saw a meme, and I've shared it. It was probably yesterday. Like, nobody's okay right now. We're all literally struggling, hanging on by a thread, except for like super rich people, and they're just dealing with like regular stress.
Well,
like,
and their stress is like, I can't go out when I want to. Okay.
Yeah, they're
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other else? Things. I lost my pay. Zoom etiquette. We talked a little bit about Zoom being a thing, but let's remember Zoom etiquette. We're way too deep in this pandemic for you not to know how to mute yourself on Zoom.
And if you're hosting the meeting, you can mute everyone.
If you're hosting the meeting, let's just make that a 2021 thing. Let's just start out
with muting everyone.
Starts all meetings with everyone muted, and you can let them unmute as they need to. Just learn how to go into the settings. Yep. And change that for all your Zoom meetings going forward. You know what?
I have a thought. Just practice before you have the actual meeting. Now, here's the funny thing. I have a Zoom with my cousins and my best friends, Leah and Keisha and all that. I practice before, even though I know, it's just going to be us wilding and stuff. But it's still like, I need to learn how to do all of these things before I have the actual meeting.
Look at you being prepared. It's like that party where Amora came. We had a party and our friend, or my cousin came to it was just like a dinner thing. It wasn't really like even a full party. But we invited her. She brought note cards because she wasn't sure what to talk about.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember that was so hilarious.
You know what? I remember when it was just her and I can't remember where we were. She was like, I was going to get in this car with this lady and we were going to drive somewhere to go do something for work. And I got note cards because I needed to know what to say. Now, listen, as a person who's an introvert who practices what she says beforehand, I was like, oh, wow.
Such a good idea.
I'm not to that level. I'm not to that level. I
there's levels to this?
There's levels to this because what I do is I practice it in my head. I imagine what your reaction is going to be, and then I respond to what I imagine your reaction is going to be. It's a lot. It's exhausting.
Wow. And if I don't feel like talking, I don't talk.
You know what?
There's sometimes where I'm like, I probably should be talking.
The problem
but
is,
I'm in my own head, so what does it matter?
I think for her, you put it on the notes, she does it, and she talks to the person. For me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to practice it in my head. And if it doesn't go the way that I expect it, I sort of wing it. And then in the middle of the night at 3 a.m., my brain is like, what did you say when she asked you blah, blah, blah?
Oh, wow.
Was it appropriate or not?
Yeah, I don't have that
I
kind of anxiety.
go through every single conversation, even with people that I know, in the middle of the night to make sure that I feel like I wasn't too weird.
Conversations today anymore. You go over conversations with me?
Not sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes.
Like are we talking about like the big ones or just like even the random everyday interactions?
No. The big ones. Yeah. I'm okay with being weird around you, but like on family night is exhausting.
I mean, I figured that family night was exhausting.
Definitely exhausting because it's like, what did I say? Did I say all the right stuff?
I need you to breathe this in, Nicole. Nobody at family night is reviewing anything you said, but you.
Except me, huh?
Just you. I need you to breathe that in.
Okay.
When you're around family, I mean, even if they make some jokes about you saying something they consider dumb.
Yeah. He said air quotes.
Yeah, with air quotes. I'm sorry, air quotes around the word dumb. You were gonna get that. You were gonna get that smoke anyway.
I was good. No. So, there are some things that I know I'm gonna get made. That's fine.
Right.
That's
you
fine.
can hold your own with those people.
No.
So we have family night with my mom and my sister. We do like a small gathering
every Friday.
Ultimately,
it started
there
out
are
as movie night, but yeah.
But then the weather got cold, so we couldn't watch the movies outside anymore. They're our bubble. The kids are around each other all the time because of the homeschooling thing.
Yep.
And we're all relatively quarantined.
Yep. So it's just us every week.
It is a risk.
It's how we get out.
And if anybody feels like sick or anything, we tend to cut it off.
Yeah, for a week like we didn't have the slaughters over last week.
Yeah, because somebody was feeling
somebody had sniffles. But yeah.
But it is one of the things that's allowed us to get through this time to have dinner together and just spend time together. And then that's surprising to me that even with like all of 5 people that you're hanging out with, you still feel the need to find your way to anxiety. and post-game analysis.
Because my brain is like,
I genuinely am like, when I'm in the conversation, I'm in it. When I'm not, I'm not. And I genuinely see that as the lowest stakes conversation I have all week.
It's funny because there's a meme where it's like, the wife is like sitting up, stressed and just anxious. It's like, how are you going to be asleep and you're not anxious about the conversations, the 42 conversations you've had all day?
Yeah. And then was that the one where the response was, I'm not sitting up making up things to be anxious about? I'm not making up scenarios in my head.
Why are you not?
Because why would I do that to myself? That sounds exhausting.
Yeah, it is exhausting.
And anytime I find myself doing that, I tell my brain, you know what? You're just making this up. As I've said before, the difference between a worry and problem solving.
You are totally making all of that up.
Worries are abstract. They are not grounded in any reality. They're often the result of abstract what ifs and shoulds and things that aren't really grounded in anything.
And the
problems
sad thing
are
is,
actual things that can be solved.
Well, and the sad thing is,
an
like,
act or a behavior.
With everybody that we're talking to, I'm sure that all the stuff that I'm stressed about in the middle of the night, none of them thought of.
No.
Or care about.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stop it. Cut it out.
I'm gonna cut it out.
Cut it out.
I'm gonna try. So, do you want to get to our topics for today? Or you got a couple more things?
I got a couple more things.
Okay.
What
else did we learn?
The pandemic brought us back to watching the same television shows. So suddenly everybody's talking about the same things, even though there's like thousands of things on TV.
New shows.
Thousands of new shows.
Let me say something about that.
What you want to say about that?
And this is my personal belief for the reason for that. People, right now, we're in a pandemic and everything is sort of unknown. And it makes a lot of us very, very nervous because we don't know what we don't know. But if you go back to like a Golden Girls or Barney Miller or MASH or Girlfriends or
The Office, a lot of people were watching they were binging The Office over and over and over again.
We know what's going to happen there, and that sort of squashes the amount of anxiety of the things that we don't know. Mm-hmm. And so, I watched I made it through all of the Girlfriends already, so I'm done with that.
But it's a way of like processing the Groundhog Day sameness. So we're still binging.
Yes.
I just binged Shooter. I actually got to the third season and kind of tapped out. Did you like that? I enjoyed the first season. Okay. And in the second season, I was like, third season, they kind of lost me. Like all the stakes were kind of removed. Yeah. But they got canceled over the third season. So I need to finish it just so that I could say I finished it, just to like figure out. But I genuinely stopped caring. Yeah. Like 2 episodes into the third season because but it was a fun little, something that you can
there's
put a conspiracy. There's a guy with skills. Let's see him get through these situations where he has to beat people up to solve problems.
I had the same problem with Girlfriends. I got to like the last season and there were 4 or 5 episodes left and I'm like, okay. Yeah. I don't even know if I can make it through.
I think sometimes there's like a narrative drift where if they're not really like all the things that brought you to the show have started to slowly dissolve because of the writer changes or
whatever,
an actor leaves or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I don't know that I care anymore. And I'm not sure the people who made this cared anymore. They were just trying to finish
they're just trying to get it done. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think in terms of like Shooter and some other stuff that I've watched, it was like they thought, I watched Star Trek Discovery all 3 seasons. And I got to the end and felt like the people who made the show loved the show, but they were a little wrong-headed in some of the decisions they were making. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, I get that you guys seem to be having a good time. And there's a pulp fun element to this. Yeah. But I'm not sure I feel it all the way. Like at some point, there are certain shows where I'm like, I'm just curious about how you're going to solve the problem you've created for yourselves in the writing.
Let me just say this. Everything's not The Wire.
Everything is not The Wire.
Everything is not The Wire. Where
but everything couldn't
is
be The Wire.
Full circle, right? Where all the episodes are thought out, all the characters are thought out, and for things that have a beginning, have an end.
Yes.
And for things that you thought were ending, have a new beginning. Yeah. So it's.
There are some shows that I'm wondering, like, would they have done as well? Like The Mandalorian did really well.
I like The Mandalorian
because we didn't have anything else to watch. I'm watching WandaVision.
I haven't watched that, but a lot of people seem to like it in my feed. You struggle.
The latest episode, I was in again. I was really starting to drift. Once again, I was starting to drift away. Like,
I remember you came to me the other day and you're like, they're going to do it. And I'm like, do what?
Yeah. And it was like, you'll see when you actually watch it.
Yeah.
I'll see what the next episode is, and then I will binge it with you if the next episode.
So this is how our relationship works, folks. Like he previews stuff.
certain things. There are certain things that this goes back to when we were dating.
Yeah.
And it was like if I took her to a bad movie, then she would be relentless. And
would never let you forget it.
Right.
Yeah.
If it was a movie we both chose and it was bad, then
we had to equally eat it. Yes.
It was like one of those things where when we were dating,
then whoever
chooses the movie,
who gets to choose the movie,
don't
exactly.
choose nothing that sucks.
Exactly.
And if you choose something that sucks, it's like,
okay. We both thought Belly was going to be good.
I mean, how would you not think that Belly was going to be good? It had so many actors.
But
it was directed by Hype Williams, who directed all the music videos. We just didn't know it was going to be a 2-hour music video. We should do a re-review of Belly.
Oh my god!
I think that was also one of the times where I realized, like, okay, I think I could like fall in love with this girl because we came out of the viewing of Belly and just made fun of that movie relentlessly
the entire time. Yeah,
in the parking lot for like
we still
an
found
hour.
a way to have a good time.
Yeah, we had a good time just making fun of it. And we still do that. So we should re-review Belly for the show.
We should, because it was like our third date. And
and it was like, oh, okay, so this girl, I can goof off with this girl and have a good time because we were relentless.
Oh, yeah. There was one movie that I picked. It was like they redid, it had Vince Vaughn in it. And,
redoing Psycho.
They redid Psycho, and Psycho was a classic, y'all.
Yeah, it did not translate well.
Dude, very well.
It was because it was a shot-for-shot remake, and there was something flat about it because
it was super flat. It wasn't
to be viewing it, decades.
It's like, why'd you even bother to redo it if you weren't gonna add
anything to the
flair
proceedings
to it? Yeah,
and
so we got bored, and
got bored in the theater.
Yep.
So that's. I don't even remember which thing on my list we were on, but yeah, and nurses were the MVPs of the year. Nurses and health workers,
healthcare
essential workers. We should pay those people more.
We should absolutely pay those people more. Mm-hmm. They put their lives on the line every day, and honestly, people that interact with other humans like teachers and stuff every day, they really do sort of put their foot forward and say, okay,
they Bill Gates
wear my mask.
and other people are making billions of dollars while these people are actively keeping the world going.
The people that make all
people
that
on the
money,
ground,
and they don't have to interact with any humans at all.
No,
to do
and
it's
it's kind of rude to say that 10 minutes of Bill Gates' life is worth $250,000, but 10 minutes of a teacher's life, who we absolutely need.
We need them.
She should also be worth $250,000.
Listen, I would suggest that teachers need to be worth more than any of the Bill Gates. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand you're brilliant and you created stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
But listen, they can teach my children in ways that I cannot.
Yeah.
And this just goes back to homeschooling. I'm not a teacher.
Right.
I'm not a teacher. I didn't go to school for it. And one of the things that our distance learning coach or tutor said to me the other day was that, and it really resonated with me, was that teaching is a gift. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't recognize it as a gift, but it absolutely is.
A lot of people take it for
granted. And I know those folks that are in other fields that are also trying to, quote unquote, teach their children, realize that it is a gift. Okay. It's not easy. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I try my best to get them what they need, but wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's tough.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And so that's a review of some of the stuff that we'd like to leave in 2020. I'd love to go back to just not having to wash my hands so much. I'd love to have to be able to relax. I'd love to leave. I mean,
you want to breathe air?
Ultimately, oh my God, raw dog some air. Yeah.
Raw dog some air.
Raw dog some air. Just go at it like a virgin on my wedding night. Just, really get into that air. Get all up in that air.
Just get dirty with it.
In public, right. Just enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah, looking forward to the possibility of that. And I'd like to leave President number 45 in 2020. May we never have to speak of that guy again.
We're just not going to speak of him again. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's gone. Mm-hmm. All right.
Let's hopefully solve this COVID problem sometime this year.
Yeah. Let's have a normal
never have to speak of that again. Imagine that. The world where you never have to speak of this.
You get the vaccine like you get the flu shot and you just shut up about it. Yeah.
And everybody survives. And everybody lives just this once, Rose.
Everybody lives. Everybody can travel and live their lives.
Oh my God, travel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're going to get in that red van and we're just going to go places.
Get into a car and go.
Okay.
Anywhere. Here I stand, sad and free.
You know, it's funny because anytime Rob's like, I would like to go, blah, 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 blah. He's listed a number of places. And every time I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah. Whatever your trip's ideas are.
Wherever you want to go.
Nothing's too big.
You want to go to Pittsburgh? Boom. You want to go to New York?
Big.
I'll make it happen.
We'll do it.
We'll do it in the red van. Okay?
We'll get the red van and go.
Yeah. That's what
we're looking forward to.
That is what we're looking forward to. Like, how crazy that we're saying that, because years ago it was like, oh shoot, we got to get all these kids in this van and drive 15 hours.
Yeah, now we've spent so much time with them. It's like we kind of know how that will be.
We know how that'll be. Yeah. Well, and we've done it every year up until now. And interestingly enough, last summer was the summer that we said they're old enough to fly.
Yeah,
we're going to put them on a plane. We're not going to do these 15-hour jaunts from Ohio to Clearwater. We're going to get them on a plane
and fly. Do
it in 2 hours and be done. Yeah. Because the amount of stress during that 2 hours is so much less than the 15, right? But now we're kind of like,
plus the wear and tear on the body.
The wear and tear.
Sitting in the car for that long.
Yeah. You lose a day. We lose a day. Okay. The adults
lose a day.
The drivers lose a day.
Right.
You know, and so it's like we try to do like 9 and 9. You know, you do 9 hours, I do the other 9, but it's always just this sort of
sleep in between.
You know, you got to take them to the potty and all this, you know, food and all that kind of stuff, and make sure that the Wi-Fi is set up. Like that was like one of the biggest things that you introduced. That was great.
Yeah, having Wi-Fi
for the year before. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which I got to get that re-upped. I let that lapse. I haven't even thought about it in 2 years now.
Well, it's just one of those things that we re-up just for the summer because we're traveling so much in the car, and it's like, you can get to your Netflix
having
now.
A hotspot in the car.
You're welcome. Yeah.
But, you know,
it's
also,
more for us.
Also,
for them.
download this before we go so that you don't have to be upset that you're not getting into the Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they're at that age now where we can list that stuff and do it ahead of time, and we can be prepared. Right. Yeah.
So we've come around the 30-minute mark. We're going to take a pause for a commercial, and then after that, we're going to get into some of the other things that we're connecting here on the Hallspace Podcast.
See you soon.
So let me tell you about Anchor Podcast. It's the podcasting service that I use. Anchor.fm is the easiest way to make a podcast, and there are many different reasons why, but foremost is it's free. So you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. If you have a phone or a computer and a microphone, you can record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. So that's one major benefit, as well as the fact that they'll distribute your podcast to several different podcasting sites for you. Not only can your podcast be found on Anchor, it can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast as well. So you don't have to worry about going to all those different sites and setting yourself up. They'll do it for you. You can also make some money on your podcast. Say you have a podcast that only 5 people listen to on a regular basis. They don't limit you on how many subscribers you have to have in order to be able to make a little bit of change for your podcast to keep yourself going. So pretty much everything you need to start a podcast can be found at Anchor.fm. So go download the app either in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. And I guarantee you, it'll make things so much easier for you, like it has for me. And we're back. Welcome back. And so you wanted to talk about that girl being trash.
So you don't remember her name?
I don't remember her name. I don't think it's memorable.
Well, so folks, here's what's going on.
Oh, this is apparently going on.
It's going on. And Richie Vaughn says she's trash and she's got a trash opinion, so why do we even care? But
I didn't say she was trash. I said she had a trash opinion. I actually don't know her to call her trash.
I'm going to go ahead and say she's trash.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
So I did not qualify her as trash, but I was like, there's a lot of pretty girls with trash opinions. If I concern myself with every pretty girl on the internet with trash opinions, then I would never leave the house. I'd just be angry all the time.
Yeah.
But I've just learned pretty girls have trash opinions on the internet And
so
they get to have these opinions because they're pretty.
So Danny Lee is Dominican and she is dating the baby. Listen, I don't care about the baby.
I don't care about any of these people. But
you don't care about any of
this story.
No. I care about it only because it speaks to colorism, right? Let's be
okay, so it's attached to an issue.
It is absolutely attached to an issue that I've lived my entire life. I'm a chocolate girl.
So it triggers within you.
It triggers
some thoughts and feelings
within me. And there are
back in the schoolyard.
Back in the
arguments
school
with other little girls.
Listen, exactly. Junior high, middle school, all that kind of stuff, right? So there are a number of things that I feel a way about when you try to pit light-skinned girls against dark-skinned girls. Don't do it. Okay. We are, a lot of us, getting to the point where we are congratulating each other. We're adjusting each other's crowns and we're supporting each other. And then this girl from the Dominican Republic makes a song about the baby, saying that yellow bone is what he wants, right? She didn't say red bone because,
I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know anyone who actually says yellow bone.
She says yellow bone because she don't know to call it red bone.
Maybe she thought it'd be interesting. Maybe it was a poetic license kind of thing.
Maybe, but so the song is trash and basically it's yellow bone is what he wants, right? So she's dating the baby.
Somebody said it sounds like a JJ Icefish song.
Oh, it does. It does.
Which was hilarious.
Because what she's saying in the track, all of it's trash, all of it's offbeat. It is the worst. And again, let me just...
Isn't this basically like an audio diary of hers? Like she didn't actually release the song.
This wasn't a song.
It got leaked. It became a national conversation.
And it became a thing.
The news cycle took a nosedive after the inauguration and people needed something to feel things about.
No, but let me say this. Okay, so let's be clear about Danny Lee, right? And I don't fall down the internet rabbit hole very often, but I do know via my Instagram that Danny Lee is dating the baby.
So if it wasn't for her romantic entanglement.
If it wasn't for her romantic entanglement, it wouldn't matter. Because I only looked at her because there was a song that she made that I liked. And I listened to that song and that was the only song that I liked. And then that was it. But if I wasn't following the Shade Room, I wouldn't know.
Right.
So
in some ways, isn't this kind of like an issue that just got put in front of people? And I might be right. It might not matter at all.
It may not.
It may tap into a larger societal issue.
It taps into a larger issue, yes.
But that doesn't mean that this particular incident
we don't have to care
important.
About her. You are absolutely accurate. And
that's been my stance on this. She's been trying to lure me into a conversation about it for a week now. And I've been like, but I don't know that I need to care.
You don't need to care.
I don't understand why anyone would care.
Here's what I know before this last incident occurred, right? Danny Lee has been dating DaBaby, and DaBaby is a chocolate guy, and she is Dominican, so she's fair skinned with curly hair, and she has been going back and forth on her Instagram and his Instagram, and they're like, "Oh, we're hanging out, we're dating," If you don't know DaBaby, he's got
celebrities. Celebrities do things.
Y'all, he just yawned. This is ridiculous. Really hard. He has 2 baby mamas or maybe more, and they're both chocolate.
He's probably got more.
He's probably got more.
He's got young rapper money right now. He's doing big things.
He does.
Big things.
Is he young? I don't know who he is.
He's not that old. He's fresh on the scene. He has not been around for 5 years.
Okay. So all these people,
I learned about him because little brother, in discussing, recent rappers that are doing well, they mentioned his name as one of the rappers that are doing well.
Is he doing well?
He's doing well. He was doing well a couple years ago. I mean, and if his name is in the Shade Room because his baby mama / side chick is saying stuff about being a red bone or yellow bone. He's big enough for people to care. He's big enough for
people. Okay, so like I said, before this incident,
there's also more than one baby named rapper. So there's Young Baby.
There's Little Baby.
Yeah,
there's
Little Baby.
Young Baby, Miami.
So I'm not sure
Young.
which are which.
Duh Baby. It's Duh Baby.
I think that's the one I'm thinking of, but
that's the guy.
Don't quote me.
He's got mass kids. He's got a few baby mamas, but they're all chocolate baby mamas. And apparently what's been going...
I'm 40, so I don't care.
You don't care at all. We got it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you why it's important.
Are you going to tell me why you value this information? But it might still not be important.
I'm going to say this is why we should discuss it.
Okay.
Let's just go with this.
Sure.
Okay. I fell down this rabbit hole, so now we must fall together. Okay. Boom. the biggest thing is exactly, Danny Lee has been like, you know how it is, like side chicks and baby mamas. It's like, oh yeah, but he was with me for Thanksgiving. He was with me for the day after Thanksgiving. And so the baby's mamas are like, oh yeah, no, he was here with me on Saturday after Thanksgiving. So there's sort of this tug of war going.
The timeshare conversation.
There is definitely a timeshare. And the biggest, I don't know the baby mamas. They don't really post them as much, but I do know for her the posts are very pick-me-ish. And so what happened was...
What's a pick-me, Nicole?
A pick-me? I will do whatever it takes to get you to love me.
To get a man?
To get a man. You love me?
That's what a pick-me is?
You want me to cook your dinner? I'll cook your dinner. You want me to... I almost said something really explicit. We're not explicit on this show.
We're not supposed to be explicit on this show. This is a family show.
But
Sorry,
if you
children.
want me to do sexual favors, I'll do that too. It's kind of like the lady in Coming to America. What is it that you like? Whatever you like. So a lot of the posts that she makes are like, he's here eating dinner with me. And so my initial issue with that is he has baby mamas and they have children. Right. So I don't know that I can respect a woman that's like, yeah, but he's with me. He has children, regardless of the relationship that he has with the mother. He has children, and stuff is on the internet, and so are these babies, right? So, I mean, that's my biggest issue. It's like, don't be fighting over it. There's nothing less classy than fighting over a dude. Period.
There's
right. Let's just start with that.
There's also celebrities. So there's an element of those. These fights still get you album sales.
Correct. But these are like you're posting them on your Instagram. So how much
it's endorsement.
Marketing are you going to get?
All marketing is good marketing, right?
I don't know. That's a cynic in me that's like, is this even really a thing? Like, are these arguments? I mean, honestly, it may not be.
When both people are celebrities, when it's one person's marriage falling apart, it's like, oh, that's sad.
But
when it's two celebrities, it's like, oh,
it's still sad because listen, he is a father to children, and the part that always
father is he actually?
Well, right, because the mothers of his children do make certain complaints, but they're also complicit, right? So like when Danny Lee is like, oh, but he was here with me, then they'll be like, oh, but he was here with me, and it's like, well, you have his children. So if I'm gonna if I'm going to say out of the two, where this Yahoo should be, I don't know why they even care about this dude.
He's a rich rapper guy.
Okay. All right.
So he is definitely in the category of high value.
You made these children. You need to raise them. Okay.
So there's like the complex amount of what I hear is dysfunction and trauma.
There's definitely a lot of dysfunction and trauma. And the biggest issue was she was taunting the baby mamas like, oh, he was here with me for Thanksgiving. And then she makes this song that says Yellowbone is what he wants.
Yeah.
I think, the biggest thing was, so the baby, one of the baby mothers,
the baby mothers for the baby,
right, was saying,
the baby mamas,
how are you going to make this song about Yellowbone is what he wants, but you land up with a chocolate guy who has chocolate babies from chocolate baby mothers?
Well, she's also from the Dominican, right? So she's not, I will assume, as well versed in the history of critical race theory or anything.
And that was the excuse that she made.
She, as often when a immigrant person comes to this country, they have a slight awareness of black-white disparity, but not a nuanced understanding.
No,
even if they adopt like a black cultural identity, like what we would consider to be a much more...
you want these black dollars, right? You want these black dollars?
Yeah.
Well, then you need to watch your mouth when you're talking.
But also, the self-hate is deep enough for the black community that you're still going to get people who are like, yeah, she ain't saying nothing wrong.
Well, so here's the thing. Let me also be very, very, very clear about this. My husband is caramel. My daughter is caramel. They're very fair skinned. My mama's fair skinned. I'm chocolate. I believe that we can all coexist, right? And be beautiful in our own rights. The one of the things that I saw that really nailed it for me was, this is different than Yellow Bone is what he wants is different than Brown Skin Girl.
Also, the song wasn't released; it was leaked.
It was
like
not.
Beyonce did a full marketing push for Brown Skin Girl.
She absolutely did. But what
she's got a video for it and everything. Like she intended to put that song out in the world.
She intended to put the song out in the world.
But this girl didn't intend to put the song in the world. She just went to the studio one night and goofed around and created a half song.
No. See, here's so you saying, oh, she went to the studio and she goofed around talking about Yellow Bone is what he wants. It's the same thing as saying, I only said nigga once.
Oh, no. I'm not excusing the behavior on an individual level.
Okay.
I think what I'm arguing is, I don't know that it's, okay, so it is part of a larger systemic problem.
It absolutely is.
But it's like
she's stepping into something that she doesn't know.
In my mind, it's also like going into everyone's group chats and policing it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I could believe
this is like, some things were just inside baseball. The fact that they're celebrities means it's put on the larger stage.
No,
but I just genuinely, I'm not sure. Like, if she had released it with a marketing push and all this other stuff,
then you'd feel differently.
Then I'd be like, okay, now she's promoting a certain type of, whatever.
No,
but for her to just have these thoughts and opinions, and for it not necessarily to be intended,
she laid it on a track, Richie.
People say all kinds of things on tracks.
I understand.
I'm not excusing her at all.
Okay.
I'm saying the deeper you look at it, the dumber it gets.
No.
And
everything about this is dumb. D-U-M-B.
It's
dumb.
literally like reading her journal entries. Her texts with her girlfriends
to an extent
about her.
But here's the thing.
Piecery.
I mean, we all say things in our diaries or in our own family circles or with our girlfriends. So we all say all kinds of things that may be considered quote unquote inappropriate. What she did was she went to a studio. She laid this whack.
In the studio all the time, though.
She laid this whack track and it got leaked. And let me tell you how I know. It's
the equivalent of a rich person's blog post.
Listen to my words.
I'm listening.
Let me tell you how I know that she meant it, because the first song that I ever heard that I enjoyed or that I liked was when I listen to it now, I know she's talking about the baby. Little baby, like, we'll upgrade. That's a watch on your watch now. Like, it's you can, if you're looking, you can see that she is continuously saying he wants to be with me, even though he goes back to you, which I have a personal problem with as a wife and as a mother. Okay. It sounds like I'm reaching. I understand.
No,
that,
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my natural instinct with shenanigans like this is just ignore.
I understand.
I don't know that this person would matter if they didn't have fame, if they weren't attached to another famous person.
They wouldn't matter.
It's
but
a pretty
there's
girl with a
enough
trash opinion.
There are a number of girls like her, and my daughter is going to grow up with girls like her. And what I don't want...
Well, we can't police every girl like her that's going to be in the world. You just got to help make your daughter a better person.
But we can shut this one down.
Do we need to do that, though?
Yeah. She needs to sit down and she needs to shut up. And if she's going to speak on things that she doesn't understand, then she doesn't need to.
What's even the mechanism for shutting her down?
Not buying her music.
So I feel like we're in the same place here, because I'm saying ignore. And you're saying not by the music. That's genuinely what I'm like. Oh, no, person with a trash ass opinion.
And maybe that
I'm going to flat out ignore their existence.
No, I agree. I mean, and it's to the point where even the one song that I liked, Lil Baby, I feel like I need to take it off of my. I'm not buying music, y'all. Let's just be very clear. Right. I'm on the YouTubes.
Right. Just take it off your YouTube playlist.
This really chaffed me because I grew up a certain way, right? And I know that there is this big divide between black women, and we're at the point now where we have an African American woman in the White House. She's the vice president. We are trying to get away from the last 4 years that created so much division. We are adjusting each other's crowns, and we're saying, you're chocolate, you're beautiful, you're caramel, you're beautiful, you're vanilla, you're beautiful. we need to come together. We need to enjoy each other. We can all be the pretty girls at the dance. Nope, don't say anything. We're all pretty girls at the dance, and we can all do that. And that is the kind of world that I'm trying to get our daughter to grow up in. So when you come out and you like, yeah, I mean, but he like yellow bones though. It sounds like what you're saying is he likes me and not you. And I could be perceiving that a different way, but it couldn't be because it went viral. And there were a lot of people that had something
the news
to
cycle
say.
took a nosedive. Okay. So I will say, yeah, no, really, this would not have mattered if we were still arguing about kids in cages of Black Lives Matter. This is genuinely just that there's not much going on in the absence of a chaotic president.
I disagree with that.
Because she's not even like, if Beyonce had made the song, then yes, national conversation.
Beyonce wouldn't make that song.
This, 400,000 followers on Instagram person. I don't know who she is. I don't think that this rates. I think it triggers a particular issue within the African American community.
It absolutely does.
I think there are conversations to be had. I think it'd be great to think that my daughter's going to grow up in a utopia where everybody holds hands and sings Kumbaya. But I know she's going to grow up in the real world, so there's going to be other people with trash opinions. And my idea is that we flat out ignore this person with a trash opinion, teach our daughter to love herself,
but they're going to
accept herself. But we don't have to do this because this person's trash. We just do it because we're going to do it anyway.
I mean, we were going to do it anyway. Yeah. Let's be very clear about that. We have given her, as many accolades as we can.
But this person, whom we did not know 2 months ago, created a song on her off time, did not have a national release of it. It leaked. And now we've spent 50 minutes talking about it.
But it speaks to
the much larger issue in the community, which she's not even the person who should be the ambassador for this issue.
She's not.
There's full of people who study this.
I get that, but I still would like to.
But I think you're fighting. I don't know that you're fighting her.
I'm not fighting her.
You're fighting the girls who made fun of you when you were 15.
I absolutely am fighting
the ideas
colorism
that exist.
I am fighting United States colorism. She's not even from the United States. I get that. I understand it.
I think the more you rotate this conversation around her and her actions, though, you're not really moving towards solutions for the larger, because you're fighting the larger issue while aiming at her. And she's genuinely on the table of political maneuvering no one. She's just the person who raised the issue. Bluntly and dumbly. But I don't know that you resolve it by arguing with her with regards to her character and her ability, because it's non-existent. I think that's why I'm like, I blanch at it. Like, she's genuinely nobody, no one should care.
Well, let me say this. She spoke out against it, and her initial response was, I don't know why
she did not have a nuanced way of approaching this subject?
You know what? her initial
You mean she didn't come back with character when criticized?
Her initial response was,
she got defensive.
I don't know why you're mad. Basically the same thing. Like, why can't light-skinned girls talk about beautiful light-skinned girls? That's not what she said. That's not what she purported. Okay. Then she had another response after that said, okay, I didn't understand the issues that it brought up in the African-American community.
Right. When the lawyer sat her down and said, hey, you about to lose the bag, and then typed her up a good response, she finally found a good way to articulate.
Read it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Her side of the.
One of the things that there is I don't know if it's a podcast or a video cast with Vivica Fox and Lisa Ray and
I think it's a podcast / video series.
Yeah. Vivica Fox, like, when you created this song to dig at the baby mama, you need to be careful, because you are talking about colorism when you do that. People are going to automatically go to that part of the discussion, basically. Yeah. So I mean,
within this is, as I said before, there's a lot of dysfunction and trauma. There's a lot of women being disloyal to each other in this story. Yeah. There's a lot of trying to essentially steal a man from under these other women which is ridiculous. He does have a biological obligation. Because all he's gonna
do is get you pregnant and leave you too, girl.
Well,
okay.
I mean, there's a lot going on there that I think honestly trumps the does she have trash opinions about colorism. So
no. Let me
it's
say
very
this.
easy to come at her because she lacks nuance and
in the beginning of this
articulate.
episode, you asked me what I learned, and I said Danny Lee is trash.
Yeah.
Period. I didn't say her opinions about colorism. I didn't say no.
But she's also young, right? Like she's not 25.
I don't know how old she is. You're right. I have no idea. So, but I do know she's.
There's a lot of opinions that if there was a record of the opinions we had at 20 about some things, we would not want. There's quite a few things I know I had opinions about at 20 that I would not want people discussing on the internet because I made a song about it at 3 a.m. while goofing around with my friends.
No, I get that, but I think you're giving her more grace because I think even at her age, I'm like, even at her age, am I screwing with a dude that has got a baby mama? And I'm not
forgiving that.
Okay. Because I'm
saying
issue.
Some of the ignorance around colorism, some of the ignorance around navigating relationships and emotions.
Yeah,
obviously,
you're saying that as a psychologist at a college.
Yeah, because I know how dumb they are at that age. I genuinely wade in it all day, and I'm like, well, this is dumb. I hope no one else ever finds out how dumb you're being on a daily basis because, man, this would make the national news.
Well, and that's the thing because she is influencing other dumb folks who probably believe the same crap.
Yeah, but there's always got to be someone. So I'm not saying I feel like this has got you really in your bag, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't think I care enough. But that's also because I genuinely have to not care about issues like this all the time. So there's a part of me that I've said before when I'm therapizing people and they're telling me these stories like, oh, his baby mama, huh? And y'all went back and forth. There's a part of me that loves the gossip level of that. Oh yeah. What? You wrote a song about her? Can I hear it?
Tell me more.
But there's an internal part of me that just likes it for that initial gossip. And then it's like, wait, I'm hearing a lot of dysfunction in here.
Listen,
I can't tolerate this.
I brought this story to you, and every time you're like, I don't care.
I don't care about this.
And honestly, it just hit me that you probably hear these kind of stories
all the time.
All day.
Yeah.
But I still have opinions about it. But okay, let me just say this. If there is a man that you're dating and he has kids with another woman, you have to respect that other woman.
You should.
And well, he should too. Let me just say this too. The baby is trash. The baby is bigger trash than even Danny Lee because he's the one that's going back and forth. He's making all of these babies he's making everybody
making a bunch of money. He's a rapper in his prime.
There's no excuse.
He's not doing anything.
There's no excuse for the bad behavior. Period.
Andre 3000 or Common or Mos Def.
They probably all did that, and I
think Talib Kweli was married.
And that,
I'm not sure.
And that makes them trash in their 20s too.
They were all trash in their 20s.
Period.
Who wasn't trash in their 20s? Like, whom among us was sitting in our integrity and not making any trash decisions in our 20s? I see the look in your eyes, right? Like, who feels like we made all the right decisions when stepping out to the world
I met
in our
you
20s?
When I was 20.
Boom. How was that first year of the dorms, Nicole?
That's none of your business. We wasn't dating.
Right. You want two 40-year-olds discussing what you was doing in the dorms freshman year of college? Is that what you want?
Listen, that's none of your business.
Right. And I think my point's been made. We all had our trash season.
Listen, I had my fun in those first 2 years.
We all had our trash season. Just let her have her trash season. We'll see where she is.
Let her have her trash season.
Yeah. And I'll
because
say
she's got a platform, though, she's got to be more cognizant of her trash season.
She should. She should have handlers. She should. But also, we live in the information age where...
Facts.
Just exciting people, so tapping into people's emotions. Hell, that's why we had the president we had. He tapped into people's emotions and made people feel things, either hate or love, but they felt strongly about them.
Yeah.
In this information age, we have to sort of learn to regulate ourselves emotionally because if we don't, everything like this that triggers you will have you up in arms, and it'll seem as if it matters, even if it doesn't matter.
No, I agree.
So there's a part of me that's like, I can't find emotions about this. And I'll say this as a person who every now and again, a 20-year-old does something that rankles me. I remember once I was grading papers and I told my students to check out the Underground Railroad Freedom Center. And one of my white students went and she wrote this scathing paper where she basically tried to deconstruct why we don't even need museums like that.
Oh my
gosh. It doesn't make any sense. And where's the White History Museum?
Okay.
And I remember feeling intense.
You mean museums, ma'am?
Right. Right. And I remember feeling intensely triggered by it. And I had to have to go to my faculty mentor, like, what do you say to a person like this? Because it pulled out of me every fight with a white person I've ever had about why my point of view has legitimacy. Even going back to the All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter thing. It's hard for me to argue with that on a personal level because I've been trying to validate my experience to white people for 43 years.
You're trying to validate your humanism. You're just existence. Being here,
my
period.
Right to exist.
Yes. And I mean, and I understand.
It might involve what you see as an overcorrection to Black Lives Matter as opposed to just all lives matter. But screw you, we need to assert our humanity. So I understand that you could be triggered by an issue that triggers you.
I'm very triggered by it. I believe that there has been so much harm done when you're pitting Black women against each other based on their skin tone.
Yes.
And I feel
I agree with that.
Right. I mean,
and I agree that there are ways to have that conversation, but I feel like when things like this happen, I don't know that we have the conversation in the right way. Because like I said, it's very easy to attack her, this person who does not matter in the larger scheme
screw her,
of things.
but let's have the conversation though.
I mean, but I think it's so hard not to entangle the conversation in
I agree with that.
This person's character and identity. Yeah. When in reality, there's a much larger, as Black women need to do way less pitting themselves against each other.
Agree.
Way more lifting each other up.
Yes.
Way more being supportive. Way more listening and not just jumping to conclusions. It's a jump to conclusions, Matt. You spin the wheel.
You spin the wheel and you jump to the next conclusion. I feel like you looking at me with darts. Okay.
I'm just saying that there's room for much larger discussions that could be more fruitful and supportive if we were to acknowledge
here's
that, as opposed to, this person said a trash thing. Let's spend some time talking about how they're trash, why this opinion is trash.
My stance.
But how do we then evolve that into moving the community forward?
Let me stop you there. Here is my stance on the entire situation. My concern is that we are in a good place where Black women are congratulating each other. Personally, with the people that I interact with, the people that are in my feed, we are all very uplifting. We all are very supportive, and we are not divisive. On any level, it's like, oh, you're skinny, you're fat, you're dark, you're light. We're not doing any of that. Okay. Yep. We're all just sort of like trying to survive. And anytime, and it makes me feel very good. Right. Let me start with that. And it also makes me feel good for the world that I'm trying to create for our daughter. But so anything that I feel like is opposing to that, it just sticks in my craw. Yeah. And I can't tell you.
You don't want to redo trauma.
I don't. And honestly, this is my trauma. This is not Victoria's trauma.
No, that's not even.
This is not anybody's trauma, but this is my trauma.
I'm more worried about her being the mean girl who's mean to little girls.
She's definitely gonna.
She just have it as a moment.
And here's the thing though,
and carelessly hurt some girl's feelings for the next 20 years.
for no reason, and she doesn't even know, and that's always my biggest fear. I remember those moments. And I remember feeling devalued because of my skin tone. And I remember thinking, I'm not as pretty as my mother because I don't have the same skin tone as my mother. I remember having those moments. So yes, it's definitely more personal to me than anything. And I'm trying to create this different world for my daughter. But I know that people are going to treat her differently, and they're going to make assumptions about her. And I just don't want that for her.
I think there's an opportunity for two things here. One, that when it comes to traumas like this, you do have to get the help you need to move past them, because they're always going to be. I say this a lot. Children are like sand, and if you've ever been to the beach, you know that sand gets everywhere, and you don't know where it is until it's irritating you, right?
Correct.
And children are very much like that. There are spaces within us that we are most vulnerable, that are the small cuts and bruises and maybe even gaping wounds that we've acquired throughout life, and that kids will find a way to be salt and in that wound, whether we knew it was there or not.
It's true.
And oftentimes when we're triggered like that, when something is so intensely important to us, it's because it's triggered some long ago trauma. These kids were 5, 10, 12 years old when they did these things to you.
Yeah.
And yet you're still holding on to that 30 years later, and they've long forgotten about how the indiscretion.
Yeah.
And so we have to address it within ourselves, particularly when we're talking about parenting, because otherwise we will put upon our own children our traumas, and we will reenact them. So we have to address that in ourselves through therapy, through insight and self-development.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to raising kids, we don't actually know the things that are going to get them. And I think there's a way to fortify them and to help them through the challenges that we faced growing up, but that we're actually preparing them for a world we're not going to understand. The world that they're going to be adults in 20 years from now,
than we
totally different than the world we grew up in. And like, if you think about it, like, she hasn't even interacted with many kids that aren't her in the last year. So even some of the worries we have about like bullying, I was watching Kev on stage and he was talking, he said his son had never been punched in the mouth. Like, our kids have never had like a school fight.
Well, and that's crazy, because ain't that what we did on the park?
That's what we did. It was a gaggle of kids getting into fights. I had my first fight
on the playground.
Like 4 or 5. Like I distinctly remember that first fight.
Get off the bus stop my fist to your eye, your fist to your eye, like I'm gonna knock you out.
Like dozens of squabbles.
Absolutely.
I remember my very first fight was on the playground in what's called the bottom of Dunbar.
You were in the bottom where Granny's?
Yeah, we were at the rec center. And I don't remember why me and this kid got in this fight, but like I was kind of letting him bully me, and my babysitter was there, and she said, "No, Richie, you need to hit him." Yeah. And I did not want to hit him because that's not the kid I am. And so I'm like crying. And I punch this kid and we get into a fight, and then I just kind of go home still crying. Like, I was totally devastated because I'm not a fighter.
Yeah, you didn't want to fight.
I did not want to fight. I never want to fight. I don't like that feeling. But those traumas still stick with us. Like, I could still remember that story pretty vividly. Like, I don't remember that kid's face, but I do remember getting into a fight with this kid as a small person on this playground. And so we need to I think we do need to kind of address, and that if we don't address, once again, these much larger conversations around these issues, particularly like colorism, then we will continue to perpetuate.
And let me say this too.
If we're talking about colorism, then we can't talk about this Danny Lee person. Is that her name?
You don't even have her full name.
I've yet to retain her name. I don't think I need to. But instead to talk about, this is the impact that something like this could have. How do we deal with that within the community?
Well, and let me say this to you too, because it just hit me. I remember being very, very young. And my father is chocolate, my mother is caramel, and I remember he was watching TV and he was watching Fashion Fair used to be a makeup line at Dillard's or McAlpin's. And I remember there was this fair-skinned woman with red lipstick, and he was like, "She's beautiful," and that has stuck with me forever, because I'm like, I don't look like her. You know what I mean? And
but also that says that your father did not spend enough time telling you that you were beautiful.
Correct. Because I don't ever remember him saying that to me.
Which is also like, the trauma in the Black community meant he never really was as validating as he should have been as a father, but also he grew up hard.
He grew up very hard. He absolutely did. And I don't blame him for the way that he came up or for the way that he was with us, even though there are some things I do have issues with. But I do remember that being one of the things. And I was like, the lady looked kind of like my mom, and she had blown her hair out from the afro and put a red lipstick on, but she don't look like me.
I think one of the reasons that we're so sensitive to it in the Black community is because we are taught very early, as I said earlier, and I could make a definite connection here. White people are able to close their eyes and visualize themselves in almost any narrative. And we are taught very young and very early that we are different.
Yes.
We are taught our differences through subtle means, through very overt means, and even going back to, my childhood where, I start dating a white girl in the community and my 6th grade teacher tells me,
and they're like, you're
not allowed to date her. You're not allowed to date her. And she can't give any other legitimate reason.
And she couldn't say why.
She would not say to my face why, but it was just sort of implied that as a black kid, I should not be dating this white girl.
Dating the white girl, yeah.
Other people were allowed to date in my school and not a thing. And
but not you.
Even in retrospect, wasn't really dating. We just said we were going together, whatever.
Well, I mean, in 6th grade, what does that even? We're going to have lunch together.
But we are given these messages of our difference, even if we'd like to ignore them.
And
there are many times in my life I'd like to ignore these differences, but they imprint upon me that I must maintain an awareness. And by virtue of that awareness, you're also fed the messages that you are not right, that you are abnormal.
Correct.
And by virtue of that, it is easy to internalize a lot of the negativity that is your differences.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons that we push so hard for things like Black Lives Matter and Black Power and Black Pride.
We matter.
Because
we need everybody
magic,
to know that we matter.
Because we need to assert against these societal messages that are very prevalent.
Because we're being fed the opposite for so long, and we see that damage.
That the other groups don't necessarily notice these differences because they are not privy to them. Because the world is teaching them that they do exist and that they do matter and that their opinions are valid. And that if you're mad enough, why don't you just storm the Capitol because someone's going to listen to you. And after it's over, you can just go ahead and go home and act as if nothing happened, that you didn't try an insurrection, whatever. That's a conversation for another day.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But
so I do think, like I said, I think within the conversation around colorism, there is a rich and deep discussion around this Danny person.
Yeah.
Who is she? Ultimately, she's a blip on the radar of humanity. And do we need to spend any time on her?
Well, I think they're also
trash person has trash opinions.
And I hear what you're saying. I think it's interesting though that there is a difference between African American men and colorism and African American women and colorism. So I think,
and there's also much deeper discussion. And I'm also coming from a place of light skin privilege, so I've had some privileges in my life by virtue of not being a darker skin gentleman. That makes me somewhat unaware, and so I understand that I could be just like, no, it's not that big a deal.
But it is.
I know it's a big deal.
Yeah,
I definitely know it's a big deal. And I came from West Virginia, so it didn't matter how light I was.
And that was the interesting thing is like, you can't date her, but you're very fair. Like, why do you even care?
Because it's still one
because
drop.
you're not white.
One
you're
drop,
not white. Yeah.
One drop's all it takes, baby. Rocking with that over here. Blackity black and black y'all.
And I'm black y'all. And I'm black y'all. And I'm blackity black and black. Well, and I think that's the interesting thing about you. Like, you are blackity black. And like,
I'm pretty militant.
You absolutely are. And so is our son.
I could cross over into fit. I could fit into.
Oh, absolutely.
What is it? Code switch. I code switch very well, but I also will drop some blackness out of nowhere.
And you don't care that you're dropping blackness.
I don't. I will. Hey, you're white people, and I'm a black person, and that
you
means
say white people at work a lot, and I'm like,
it makes my teeth white. I love it.
You're gonna get fired one day, and they're gonna be like, you keep saying white people.
Hey, come for me. Let's have a conversation about why I'm saying it.
Stop saying crazy white boys.
Ask me why I'm saying white people in this conversation. Ask me, please.
He does it on purpose,
please.
Y'all.
I'd love to have this conversation.
Hilarious.
Please, let's do it. Let's do it as a group.
Please don't ruin the bag.
Okay, with that, we've gone almost 10 minutes over time. I tried so hard, but we got really deep there at the end, and I wanted to continue. But thank you so much for another.
For joining us.
Yes.
So it's that time, huh?
It's that time.
You know what the music means.
Our time is up.
I say good day, sir.
I say good day. The Hallspace Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Dagger Penn Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week.
House Hall. We rise brilliantly.